We are live actually.
Oh,
We're waiting for Mahima.
महिमा जी
का इंतज़ार कर रहे थे हम, इसलिए थोड़ा देरी हो गई.
ओके, मार्केट्स क्या कह रही है सर?
मार्केट्स क्या कह रही हैं? मार्केट्स सुबह के
आज बाइंग आएगा?
बाइंग
what do you make of the FI selling yesterday?
सेलिंग, यस, 1000 crore plus.
इंटरेस्टिंग.
10,000.
10,000 crore, या 500 करोड़ से 10,000 करोड़.
नहीं,
परसों 500 करोड़ के आसपास.
Last 2 days it's been that way only. Yeah, means day before yesterday you had Bharti and JSW Infra. I think 14,000 crores का जो block हुआ था उसके वजह से we were seeing the 6,000 crores plus which was there. Yesterday's one was little surprised because ICICI Bank, HDFC Bank, Bharti, Reliance, they had very high delivery volumes or turnover actually. अगर तुम सबका मिलाओगे somewhere around 8-9,000 crores तो उन्हीं का था. मैं delivery turnover की बात कर रहा हूँ. So yes, they were selling and we saw the selling. Yes, remember when we were just about to wrap up yesterday's show, we started seeing markets falling further. तो जो 1250 के आसपास जो हमने selling देखी, afternoon selling which came in, that is something which aggravated towards the end. But I think that was institutionally था, and I think some of them must have reduced the positions इसमें. But what's your take? Because banking is something which was what was surprising for me was ICICI Bank and HDFC Bank both were down yesterday, but high delivery turnover also came in for them.
No, I think they've done fairly well for themselves. Despite everything that's played out, banking in general, at least the larger private sector banks, have not seen much of an impact in terms of stock price. They've outperformed and they've continued to do fairly well for themselves. 6 months there has been an outperformance and now they've continued to do well. They are sitting very close to all-time highs. So
there's some profit booking, you're saying?
Could be, but I think till there is FI interest, deep FI interest, I think banks will still find favor because it is the largest in terms of market capitalization where FIs can invest in terms of a sector basket. And therefore, till that FI flavor remains, again, it will be crucial to see whether it does. But this 10,000 crore numbers, it didn't add up in my head. You have an explanation as to why?
So, I was looking at the numbers. The only way to look at those numbers is to look at the delivery turnover which is coming in, right? So, and this had a huge delivery turnover which is there. So, like Bharti, we had 2,300 crores of turnover on that and 1,700 crores was delivery. HDFC Bank 2,300, nearly 1,600 crores of delivery. RIL 1,100 crores of delivery. Then you have ICICI Bank.
Stocks.
Yeah. Then you have HAL, BL, Cochin Shipyard. There has been delivery and the stocks have fallen. Cochin fell 8%. That's primarily because liquidity भी बहुत कम है उसमें. But
Eternal में भी because of FI holding bringing down to 49.5%.
Yeah, but I think the FI holding is already below 49.
43.
So they've capped it at 49.5% in that sense. So
But,
if you look at these four or five top companies, right? So it's roughly around 8,000 crores coming in from the delivery.
So you are saying there's FIs are selling?
It's institutional sale. Now I don't know whether the number of FI came out much higher yesterday, 10,000 crores. So my understanding is that ये उसमें से आया होगा.
And they've pulled a good trade because they entered when maybe an HDFC or ICICI were at 1,200, ICICI and HDFC around 1,700.
So there must be some profit booking. Yes, there is a likelihood that you will see that kind of thing because in Cochin nearly 1.4% stake got sold.
The run-up has been sharp.
Yeah.
Between the 9th of May and the 15th of May, I was just pulling out data. The index was up nearly 5%. So that and at an index level to run up 5% in a matter of 6-7 days, I'm not sure how many of those were working and how many of those were not. But in the 5, 6, 7 day window to run up 5% on the index, it's very sharp. So I was
doing an exercise yesterday, academic exercise, and we're going to put the story out on the site as well. You can have a read on it. We were basically seeing Bloomberg consensus estimate for FY26, which is EPS estimate, and the target prices which have come in. And based on that, and versus the previous FY25 numbers, the earnings net profit growth was coming to around 5%. In terms of absolute consolidated net profit growth which is coming in. Now if you extrapolate that into saying that okay, every company will hit the target which has been consensus target which has put in, the upside is only 10%, 27,000, which I think most of the brokerages have also put that as one of the numbers, right? So today Rhythm is talking about 89,000 or something, which is against 8 to 9% upside from current levels, which is 81,000 odd, which Nifty is there. So I think that the upside of this market is being capped by the earnings, and that is coming very clearly because at that upside we are talking about 23 times. Today we are at around 21 and a half times forward 1 year earnings. At that upside we are at 23 times, which is there. And many of the targets which we are talking about, if you see some of the research reports, they have moved away from March 26 to September 26. So now they are talking about 12 नहीं 18 महीने की बात कर रहे हैं वो उस टारगेट को पहुंचने में. So there is a long play which is coming into this earnings season, earnings led run up which is there. So unless there is going to be a higher degree of earnings revision upwards, it's not going to happen. And only I think 20% of the stocks within the Nifty 50 had an earnings growth of more than 10%. Banks were some of them, some of the leading banks जहाँ पर वो थे. So yes, so that's the only refuge which is coming in. Banks is the only refuge which is coming in.
And which is why you are seeing the kind of performance.
Yes, but refuge से याद है आज the big day है. IndusInd के लिए. What's your expectation?
The expectation is that they do a press conference. but that's not happening.
That's a joke of the day actually.
They're not doing a press conference, unfortunately. So my expectations are not getting
analyst call or something, right?
Yeah, so they're going to do an analyst con call. I don't know who's going to chair that con call and what the plan and the
committee of directors.
And I don't even know whether they can give any strong, any kind of outlook with regard to meaningful, what the street really wants to know, in terms of what the street really wants to know. I don't think they can give that. Growth पे कुछ नहीं बोल सकते, माइक्रो फाइनेंस एग्जिस्टिंग पे बोल सकते हैं, फ्यूचर पे आई एम नॉट श्योर हाउ मच दे कैन कमेंट. I mean,
none of those people may or may not become the next CEO of the company or the CFO of the company. Simple as that, right? They're committee of directors who are managing till a new CEO is appointed.
Correct.
So how can they stick there out and say, give you a guidance or an outlook on the company? They can talk about कितना kitchen sinking हुआ है और कितना हो सकता है.
I don't think they can talk about that also. क्योंकि कितना kitchen sinking हो सकता है, that will be determined by the new CEO. वो determine करेगा कि भाई मेरे को इसमें से कितना काटना है, ये portfolio में से कितना काटना है, new strategy क्या है, वो सब. So my guess is then the only relevant question is how quickly can you appoint a new CEO?
Yeah. And plus clarification on certain things. Right?
Yeah, but they will have some visibility. But they will have some visibility कि भाई क्या हो रहा है.
The chairman of the board, then the call has to be fronted by who? The chairman of the board.
Yeah, but अभी वो but that अभी वो देखना पड़ेगा कि क्या कैसा है.
Because then only he's the only one who can talk about it, right? कि भाई where are we on the entire process of appointing the senior management or KMPs in the bank? Because the bank doesn't have any senior KMPs at the moment.
So I think they'll come out and likely say that there's no real big major kitchen sinking required. But how much of that, correct, how much of that is the street going to buy? I'm not so sure. So let me put it differently. That my guess is that they'll come out and say that. And there seems to be some downside risk with regard to microfinance as a portfolio. उधर मुझे लग रहा है कि थोड़ा बहुत प्रेशर आएगा ये टाइम अराउंड.
पर ये पैसा तो अगले 3 क्वार्टर के लिए है.
So I think the 300 crore loss which the average Bloomberg estimate seems to be indicating is very 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 conservative. I think it's going to be far
More
worse
than
than
that.
that.
Yeah, the problem is with the Bloomberg consensus is that it's based on estimates which have come in the past.
Yeah.
Right? In the last 3-4 months when these numbers have come in, I don't think any brokerage has come out and revised the numbers in a big way till they get a certainty of what numbers will be.
Yeah.
Because the entire street doesn't know what the numbers are going to be. Means we know that nearly 2,000 crores उसमें आएगा, 300 crores इसमें जाएगा, तो net means I think you're estimating a net loss of 1,000. Vishy was looking at 1,500. मैं बोला था नहीं 1,500.
Sir, I'm estimating a net loss of 300. That's the official line. But
that's the
but if you
line.
ask me in the newsroom, then yes.
We are just letting out the secrets.
The tea.
So that's something which is there. Otherwise, except for this, I think the banking numbers have been pretty much good. Means asset quality has been stable.
Yes.
There is a pressure on NIMs which is coming into play. Advances.
But sir, in the large cap banks, surprisingly, there's been no NIM pressure. That's the one big positive that I take away from this. And there's a very interesting Bernstein note also today, which is saying that how PSU banks, which have always had or enjoyed very low cost of deposits. अगर आप PSU बैंक में savings bank account खोलने जाओ महिमा in layman terms, you will not get more than 3% interest, and people will happily go and open. What they're saying is there's a big shift. Even private banks are now leading. In fact, private banks are now leading the reduction in the interest rate cycle. Private banks are leading it rather than PSU banks. पहले PSU banks used to say कि चलो हम cut कर रहे हैं तो then private banks used to follow. But this time around it's the private banks which are leading the charge with regard to reducing rates. PSU banks are actually holding their rates at slightly higher levels, and therefore within the PSU, and you're seeing that impact on margins. PSU banks में margins में बड़ा impact आया. Private banks have largely been okay. So you're seeing that. So when I read that note, I was just adding it up with what I was seeing on ground in Q4, and it kind of rung a bell that यार शायद से ये जो बोल रहा है is likely playing out.
Interesting. Mahima, United Spirits. I was surprised by the numbers despite the kind of volatility which was there during the quarter, right?
Mahima has been drinking quite a bit.
The volume growth has been 7% by the way in United Spirits, and 5% pricing growth.
And overall Prestige and above saw a volume growth of 9%.
So udhar hi paisa hai, sir. Frankly, I'm telling you, it's Prestige and above which is driving.
I mean, all
just
companies.
Please make it
Sorry,
make the
हाँ,
viewers understand.
Right. So Prestige and above, like
मतलब हम real estate company की बात नहीं कर रहे हैं.
So Prestige and above is basically the premium category alcohol. So like we were discussing, anything beyond that 1,000 rupees mark per product is basically your premium alcohol.
And Mahima told me that it's not 1 liter bottle you talk
It's
about, it's
750
750 ml which you talk about, because I don't drink, so I didn't have that knowledge.
Neither do I, sir, but I have the knowledge because I'm in the sector.
That's again the official line that I follow. Inside the newsroom, it's very different.
But
sticking to the official line.
Popular क्या होता है?
So popular is below that 1,000 rupees mark. So I think sub companies, if we see Tilak Nagar also, significant amount of volume growth in terms of their premium category. Same with Radico Khaitan was also seen, and same was seen in United Spirits as well. I mean, we saw, the stock has recovered quite a bit post, the start of the trade. I think couple of things that are working for these companies is, first thing, backward integration for a lot of these companies is now, playing its part. And that is why cost control is taking place, cost efficiencies are in play, and margins are also improving. So that is one thing. Secondly, premiumization is the next. It's been the case, but the kind of premiumization slowdown that we saw in the past 3 odd quarters for these companies, that has rebounded now. I don't know how much discretionary spending is going up, but people are preferring.
We were talking about this in the newsroom, na?
Yeah.
कि discretionary spend नहीं हो रहा है, but people are upgrading themselves, or what is the word that you use normally in FMCG, upscaling themselves to a higher brand,
to a better.
better
quality of whatever products you're consuming, right?
Which is there, right?
Right. So even
मतलब
in
कि discretionary spend का जो पैसा बच रहा है वो इधर दारू में जा रहा है.
दारू में, even in Sula,
Premium दारू
because
में
it was
जा
interesting. Even in Sula it was interesting because company as a whole is not doing well because उनके जो price points है for their regular category wines, they are not doing well at all. But prestige and above category, the premium category grew well for the counter. But उनका पूरा execution I think has probably gone for a toss, and that's why the company is not doing well because the premium and above category which is doing well is being given for retail consumption. That is, it's available on stores in terms of alcohol consumption, but it's not available in hotels as well as restaurants, and probably that's where they're taking a hit in my opinion. The third thing, correct,
होरेका में नहीं जा रहा है पर रिटेल स्टोर में अब you get it from a wine shop basically.
Correct. And ideally, they should expand that horizon because if, for example, Sula Rasa is a premium segment of their products, right? That's doing well, but it's not being sold in your hotels and restaurants, and which is why probably it's taking a hit. The third thing that has been observed is that Indian-made foreign liquor has seen a significant amount of growth. It's not beer nor wine which is seeing growth, but it's your whiskey and vodka and gin which is seeing growth
India
in terms of volume.
Becoming a gin,
white spirits.
White spirits.
Whiskey is not a white spirit, but vodka and gin, yes. But I think that is one of the trends that has come up, in this particular quarter.
Does this change a bit once the India-UK trade deal comes into play? When
100%.
When then the prices of the single malts which are coming from Scotland or the UK comes into India.
Correct.
In that sense, it brings in little more competition for the premium segment or prestige segment of the IMFL.
The Indian made MAF for sure. I mean, counters like United Spirits is one of those counters that might get impacted. But counters that import whiskey like Allied Blenders does, they will be at an advantage because for them, importing will become cheaper, and plus they will be able to push their premium category even further. So premiumization, I think because of that, will again be on the rise. And even if it's getting imported, I think it should match with the premiumization category right now that is being sold in India. So, I mean, because the tax rates are going to get lower at the end of the day, but it will match to the price points that IMFL is being manufactured in India. So that is one thing. But United Breweries has, is the one company that has not done well this quarter, and that's probably because winters this quarter is not the quarter for United Breweries. Probably quarter 1 will be better considering summer. Quarter 2 should be better. But United Brew, and plus the entire Telangana issues because they stopped supplying in the middle of the quarter, then they again started supplying. Plus the price point also right now. When I was speaking to the management, he said that still the kind of price that is being given by the Telangana government is not enough for them in order to scale in terms of their overall margins as well as the top line growth. So that is a concern when it comes to United Breweries. But overall, the entire sector has done well when it comes to Q4. And premiumization is the key takeaway.
And volume growth has been good.
Volume growth in the premium sector has been good.
In overall also, like
overall
I was
high single
that,
digits, yeah.
High, 7% and 5% pricing, which is also coming in, which is good because last year pricing was an issue.
Pricing was an issue. Yeah.
And now over the last 18 months, if I'm not wrong, and correct me, Mahima, we have seen a lot of companies moving towards this prestige segments.
Correct.
Diageo itself talking about that, they want to focus more on the prestige segment rather than on the lower segment, and maybe sell off some of the portfolio in that segment which is there.
Correct.
So,
and I think one more thing that in my opinion is not working is probably in the unorganized space, like in the rural areas, if you see, they're not consuming branded products, right? So Popular comes as a middle range for a lot of people. So they're using the unorganized and unbranded products, and people who are actually consuming for luxury are going for the premium products. So that's something
so you're
that's
seeing
also
probably the tier 2 rural space now looking at least the popular products and tier 2 and tier 1 now gradually upgrading
to premium
themselves
products.
to premium products, which is happening.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Look, people are not spending on discretionary spends, but they have a choice on which alcohol to drink.
Well, it seems to be the case, and that's adding up on numbers. So,
Yeah.
Especially on the margin front.
मतलब शाम को जो ऑन द रॉक्स है वो मुझे पता है कौन सा लेने का है, पर मैं स्पेंड नहीं करूँगा. That's the thing.
Yes.
So Yogesh Titte is saying that permanent seat for Mahima madam in this show, please.
Yes. Mahima madam is a very busy person. We have to request her multiple times for her to be present in.
So if you make her
That's not
permanent,
the case.
then it's fine. Then she will agree. It's only a matter of making her permanent.
Permanent seat.
आप अगर उसको ऐसे you know सरप्राइज एलिमेंट 2 मिनट कास्ट कर दिया मूवी में, वैसे मत करो, वैसे बोल रही है. That's the indication. So Vigin Dharan is asking, can you please take Tilaknagar Industries?
We should.
We should.
We definitely should. We will do that.
If Mahima says it, it will happen.
And
We'll do
Avental
it.
in
And
KYC.
Avental. Okay.
Yes.
Does a rating of 6 and above in a KYC show mean risk reward is favorable? No. Okay. So
Please tell me this rating. I won't understand.
So I will tell you what this means. See, a company can be fast growing, which is what the income statement determines. Good profitability, fast growing, decent margins. It can have a very good balance sheet. It can have a great cash flow. It can have good return ratios. It can have good shareholding, good street cred. But if the coverage says negative 10% returns and if valuations don't favor, then it could still be rated a 6 on 8 or a 6.5 on 8. So you want to look at each metric individually and thereafter add it up, and not just look at the KYC rating on a standalone basis. So you look at KYC rating, yes, but you also look at each individual metric and see whether the information which has been given over the last 3, 4, 5 years adds up into your investment thesis. So that's how I would request you to look at KYC and not just look at it from a rating perspective. A 6 on 8 may well happen because the company may have delivered excellent numbers over the last 3, 4, 5 years on all of these fronts. But if the valuations are not supportive, I would not urge you to be of the opinion that risk reward is favorable, because valuations are not supportive and valuation gets only 1 point out of 8. Growth gets only 1 point out of 8. So I would urge you to look at all the metrics. Of course, the final KYC rating, therefore, which is 6 on 8, determines the quality of the franchise overall when you're looking at all of the factors. But whether investable or not, you have to look at and you have to choose on the basis of your thesis based on each of the metrics that we have pulled out and that we present. So, Vigin, I hope this kind of answers it.
But
Okay.
for a layman,
And Sajeet sir, I hope this answers it.
no. So
My
my
biggest
point is that I'm not a critic. I basically have my own view. That's what I would say. But I'm trying to ask you that agar you have an 8-pointer system,
Yeah.
and if someone says that okay 6 है, so the risk reward is मेरा टेक अवे क्या है कि ये कंपनी में रिस्क रिवॉर्ड ठीक है ना?
नहीं सर, ऐसे नहीं कर सकते, because risk reward is everything based on price. Then I have to look at growth, analyze the price and say that boss ये growth के लिए ये भाव मुझे मिल रहा है, decent है कि नहीं है. That adds another layer of subjectivity. So I am not willing to go to that extent.
So let's take a step back. Fundamentally, when I look at the company, 6 out of 8 seems fine for me in a fundamental.
So 6 out of 8 looks amazing from a fundamental standpoint.
Pricing could be a different thing. It could be overrated, it could be overvalued, whatever it is. That's it may be undervalued.
So actually pricing may be in favor.
Favor
and
or
maybe cash flows are lacking. Maybe in Gensol, maybe. I'm just giving an example. Forget Gensol. Let's take another example where pricing, it may be a very, very cheap stock, right? But it may not be delivering on growth. Let's say a Coal India, right? It's not delivering on growth, but it's a very, very cheap stock. Now Coal India may not get a 6 on 8, but risk reward will be very, very favorable because your valuations are favorable, because your dividend yield is good, because you have a decent outlook with regard to thermal.
So there is one more question which I think our favorite person
Today, a very precious viewer is watching. Very precious viewer.
who's sitting at home and sipping I don't know what.
Indian-made foreign liquor, Prestige.
Prestige and above category.
We're talking about Mr. Neeraj Shah. He's a wine drinker, by the way. So, wine पीते हैं वो.
Office में क्या बोला है उन्होंने?
Office में पता नहीं क्या बोला, पर normally wine पीते हैं.
नहीं, that I'm unwell.
ऐसे कुछ hangover होगा वो.
सर ये क्या बोल रहे हैं?
नहीं, but उनका सवाल एक अच्छा सवाल है कि आज why is auto ancillary stocks flying today?
Is it because of that IPO?
One is the case is the Bellrise IPO, which is fairly priced. We spoke about it yesterday, right? I mean, it's into the two-wheeler segment, which provides, I would say, chassis for all the two-wheelers, and Bajaj and Honda are the two guys. But you know, a bigger thing which came across to me when I was speaking to them was that many of the companies, unlike in the West, where development or product development has gone for a pause, many of the companies in India have already put the product development in a high gear. So like a Bellrise or a, Sona Koya, Sona Comstar or any other auto ancillary company which we are talking about, they are already working on products which will be launched 2 years down the line. So there is a pipeline which is there. Now, many of these companies don't speak openly about the pipeline because they're not supposed to, because it could be a new product, it could be a rehash of a product which is coming into the place, it could be anything which is there. But one thing is certain, that next 2 years you are having a product pipeline, and after the Q4 numbers, if you see, Hyundai spoke about product launches over next 2-3 years, means up to 2030 तक का बोला, to 20 or 24 products by FY30. Maruti spoke about it, Bajaj is talking about it, Ola is speaking about it, Ather is talking about it, in Mahindra is talking about it, Tata Motors is talking about it. So there is a slew of product launches which are happening over the next 2 to 3 years, and if that is the thing, I don't know how much will be the volume, but today you have a business visibility of new product launches coming in, and that brings in better revenues and businesses for auto ancillary companies, and that's one of the reasons I think, of course, the fact that there is something, fundamentally also auto companies have been subdued, auto ancillaries ne chale nahi hai, so
plus the whole tariff
issue which is coming into play. ये सब चल रहा है. Those are the overhangs which are there. But domestically, I'm not talking about export markets at this point in time, I'm talking domestically. All these companies have a product roadmap in place, and they have announced it at the end of Q4, and that means that for the next 2 years, they have the business pipeline in place.
Yeah.
Understood. So if you like that answer, please give us a like. We deserve that, and please share it.
Normally you ask for like, now we are asking for a like.
And these auto hangs have done well also this quarter, right?
Yes.
Lumax, Zenith Commercial.
Yes.
I mean, the numbers were
Gabriel India
so well. Yes, exactly. So I think that is also one of the reasons why the stocks are being... valuation picture, I'm not sure in terms of valuation picture, but because of that, I think since 2 days, we're seeing a rally in these auto hang players.
Right. So that's on auto. So you want to start taking
questions?
Yeah. That's
Srikar Reddy, he wants our
Rate
opinion
gain.
on RateGain. Currently trading at 28.6 times, which is much below the 3-year and 5-year average. Gets 50% revenue from North America, 32% from Europe. FI is cutting down, and DI is adding. That's something which is there. RateGain
tech करता है. Tech SaaS company for
hotels, travel and tourism. Travel tourism, I think there has been a hit on travel and tourism in that sense, which is one of the reasons. But if I haven't seen the FI numbers, FI cutting down the stake, which is there.
Check.
It was high at the time of IPO, and
yes, they've cut back.
But if they have cut down the stake, basically then there is a reallocation.
8.3 to around 7.6.
So there basically reallocation or our DI
is बढ़ रहा है, उतना ही बढ़ रहा है, 22.6 to 23.
It was above 10% for some time.
So by 3%, and DIs have gone up by almost the same amount.
Same amount, almost 1.5%.
The domestic companies are much more bullish on it than the foreign companies, which is there. So I don't have a fundamental view on it. I need to check on the numbers. How the numbers were?
So if I'm looking at the top line, it's growing at a very sharp clip. So
I
it
think
was at
Q4
560.
numbers have come. Have you seen?
565
I नहीं होगी ना
crore.
मैंने देखा
नहीं,
नहीं
Q4 has not
Q4
come. This is
number नहीं
Q3.
आया.
Yeah.
565 crore FY23. The trailing 12 months top line is around 1080 crore. Margins have also gotten better because top line has scaled up, so margins are around 20% odd, and profits have gone up from 60 crore in FY23, or rather 70 crore to 205 crore trailing 12 months.
So it's growing at a faster
Very, very
rate.
good growth clip.
Growth rate. Let's
But
see
they
the Q4
revised their
commentary.
guidance in Q3 to around 12 to 13%, saying that there were delays in terms of execution and contract development as well.
So that could be one
So
of the
that
reasons
could be
why
one of the
it's
reasons.
one of the reasons
Yeah.
why. And the
And
commentary of
they've said they're cautiously optimistic for FY26 as well. That was the commentary.
ये
So-
समझ में नहीं आ रहा है, ये 4th February का जो fall है ना, ये समझ में नहीं आ रहा है. This we'll have
उसके
to
आसपास ही
understand
तो
better.
आया होगा ना
उसके आसपास ही
उसके
आया
आसपास
होगा.
आया था ये कमेंट्री
Because Feb, हाँ.
So let's do that. Let's understand this better, and maybe
maybe
we'll get back to
and
it.
maybe it's also a classic company to talk to actually.
No, they're also looking for
we can
M&A
we can do a
opportunities.
KYC also on something
Yeah.
like this.
Yeah.
Worth doing.
Interesting.
My next question is coming your way. It's all about the fun. Data shows that recently a massive decline in smart watches. It was one of the most outperforming product in consumer electronics.
Correct.
क्यों हो रही है?
We've seen in Titan also that analog watches did well this time in terms of the overall sales. Watches and wearables has been both watches and wearables. Eye care was a pain point in terms of Titan sales. But
Eye care
watches
तो बहुत
and-
पहले से है
हाँ,
pain point.
But इस बार अच्छा किया सर eye care ने. But watches and especially analog watches have done well. I think even in terms of ethos that was the case.
But
I will
this is
just
a
check.
luxury Swiss watches, right?
Correct, but I mean, I think these are the two listed players that we can, I mean, give information on. Why is that happening? I think
Smart
again,
watches क्यों नहीं ले रहे लोग?
premiumization. I think smart watches में, as far as my understanding goes, बहुत सारे players आ गए, बहुत सारे Chinese players आ गए हैं, and if you see now, watches are available at what 2,000 rupees also, these smart watches. So I think now people are not able to bifurcate as to what is a good product and what is not a good product.
Because most of the watches have the same features, right? At the same at a lower price point, which is
Correct.
there, right?
And-
Let's go the era of iPhone, iWatch basically, and Samsung Watch, which is very high costly watches. They give the same kind of features in a small.
It's the same looking watch. I mean, you can't even tell if it's an Apple Watch or a dupe of that.
But I
So,
can.
so that
What is that?
that is.
ये बताओ ये कौन सा है?
But yours I can't.
ना
Yours
बताओ
Yours I can.
नहीं, फिर भी guess लो, guess करो.
So
कौन सा है?
कौन सा है बताओ?
Apple का ही होगा.
नहीं है.
See,
नहीं
so that's
Samsung
what.
है. नहीं Samsung है. Local वो है.
ये
Firebolt है.
ये Samsung है.
नहीं Firebolt है ये.
Firebolt. But Firebolt has done good. So it's done very well. I mean, I don't have the exact statistics, but when I was seeing Amazon reviews and stuff, Firebolt काफी बिका है. I mean, over 40,000 reviews for a watch.
So it's
It's
not that the
crazy.
use of smart watches are coming down.
Yeah.
It's the price points of these watches are coming down, and so people are moving away from the traditionally,
Correct.
big players in the market, right? Means either
For example, your Apple, your Garmin, exactly.
Yeah.
I think they are being sold less.
Yeah.
That's probably what
That
is
could be
happening.
the reason which is there. Okay. Shrikar Miryala. With the decreasing population worldwide, does the team think real estate would be growing?
Is the population decreasing?
I don't know. It's the growth rate may be coming down, but we're still
Yeah.
increasing.
In terms
But
of
real estate का
population.
उससे कुछ है नहीं यार. I mean, in the sense, yeah, the new age people like हमारे यहाँ पर महिमा जो बैठी है हमारे लेफ्ट में and हमारे राइट में जो हर्ष, they don't believe in buying houses. They
So I very much. Who said I don't believe in buying houses?
But
you're
I
not.
mean,
You're
So I can't afford a house. That's a different case.
Exactly.
I very much believe in buying house. सस्ते में दे दो अभी खरीद लेता हूँ सर.
they go for distressed houses.
Affordable
Option.
housing, sir. Affordable.
I think so and he has a valid point, sir. I mean, right now, if you go and buy flats in Mumbai, I was just checking out rates. For example, if me and my family wants to say, we'll at least need what, a 3 BHK or a 2 BHK. Let's keep it 2 BHK. If a 2 BHK right now, a decent 2 BHK in a decent society is not less than what, 3 crores.
Okay.
Okay, an EMI for that 3 crores would
Much
be how
more than
much?
that.
5 to
It's
6
much
lakh
more than
rupees. Much more than that. So
EMI for a 20-year would be around 3 lakhs.
Three to
you
4
wouldn't
lakhs?
take a 20-year loan on a house.
सात साल में
You'd
तो
want
pay कर
to
दोगे.
you'd want to pay it
right?
off.
So rather
three
than
six
doing
हो
that, what if you pay 1 lakh rent and you invest the 3 lakhs? Isn't that compounding better? What makes more sense? Tell me.
That you have to ask Sajeet sir.
Tell me.
Because only he can afford this trade-off.
No, I don't.
Neither of us.
I don't.
At least I can't.
Even I
I'm an investor.
can't. But just a thought. Just a thought.
No, I totally agree with you what you're trying to say. But बेचारे रियल एस्टेट कर लो का क्या होगा अगर सब लोग ऐसे सोचने लगेंगे.
अच्छा है ना सर.
और
आप हमें दो ना 3% में. That's what you're saying.
नहीं आप जो बोल रहे हैं कि प्री सेल्स उसका क्या होगा? उसका क्या होगा?
For that, I will bring in my colleague Anushi
Anushi.
on India Market Close to come and chat with you. I will sit out.
All right. The next question is on Mass Financial. 8% up today. Is it low valuation relative or historical average or something else like corporate action? What's buzzing?
I don't think there's any corporate action on this one. So frankly, no idea if there's corporate action. It declared numbers also now. I mean, nearly 2 weeks ago, if I'm not wrong. So not sure why it's up 5-6%. We'll have to see whether it's volume driven. Likely could be volume driven. But let's do this. I'll go back. I'll check this. And why don't you tune in to India Market Close, where we'll ask a couple of our guests as well. Views on Mass Financial.
Capri
and why it's
Global?
up.
Capri Global, 40% growth, low NPA. What's your view?
Good secured book.
CSE Bulls is
Ratio
asking
down to
this.
3.1, I think.
Yeah,
What am I
ratio.
missing?
Well, you're missing nothing, frankly. The only risk is that yes, there is a little bit that they do in gold. The holding, if I'm looking at the shareholding of the company, if I recall right, the shareholding of the company is heavily skewed in the sense that very few holders hold large portions of the business. 70% is promoter owned. DII is owned 14%. 9% is held by LIC. 4% is held by SBI and 2% by Quant. So if I add all of this up, you have nearly 15% holding by institutions and you have 70% holding by promoters.
Liquidity बहुत
So
कम है.
liquidity बहुत कम है ये stock में. Just keep your eye out on that. That could be one risk on a Capri
So the
Global.
fluctuations, अगर liquidity कम है तो price fluctuations will be very high.
Yes.
When people buy. They have the next question is
You Grow
from Fact
Capital.
India. You Grow Capital. You spoke to the management today.
Yeah. A very interesting
Sachin
conversation.
Manghat. Yeah, he's a very entrepreneurial, very passionate about the business. He started from ground up. I know because he was earlier with the RateGain. What is his view? Why is he raising money?
He's raising a record amount of funds. Like
And
that
he's getting
there is no
money,
doubt.
by
And
the
he's
way.
getting money.
Yeah.
So he, I mean, the insights that he gave us is that there are people who are willing to come in and put money, even though he doesn't necessarily want them to put money. So that was one. Second is that he's wanting to be fair to existing shareholders as well, and therefore he's had to do a rights, and that's kind of stretched the amount that he's wanted to raise to a certain extent. Now the other piece is that they did around 1250 odd crore raise last year. They had done that raise at 265. What he came and told me is that
अभी कितने में किया?
अभी 185 में किया है. So the 265 raise, he had done a large chunk of warrants in that raise, which is 1000 crore worth of warrants. These warrants, around 250 crore odd, was paid up, paid up front. The balance 750 was yet to come. That will come only if the stock goes back towards the 265 number, which it's not happening. Right now, the capital adequacy has fallen below 20. So what he's saying is that I have to do a fundraise at this point. I can't wait for those warrants to convert. The warrants will not convert till the stock goes above a certain price. And I cannot force those investors to convert. So we will forfeit the amount which we've already got if the warrants don't convert. If the warrants convert, yes, we have some amount of extra capital.
They have up to 18 months to do it, right?
Yes. And he's saying that in any case, the most of the participants who've participated in this round will likely not convert the warrants, most of them, because some of their thresholds get breached. So he gave two examples. One was Samina. Samina Capital, if at all the warrants, if the warrants, last year's warrants convert, then the shareholding goes above 25 and they'll have to make an open offer, which they don't want. So therefore, what they will likely do is they'll cap it at 25. They will not go above 25.
So why are they participating then?
So therefore they are participating at 185 and saying that we will.
Again, this is a warrant, right?
So again, this is a warrant, but
25 करके
no, this is not a warrant. It's a CCD. It's not warrant.
Okay.
It's a pure CCD. So it's pure
नहीं,
equity.
इसमें चार नहीं है. I mean, I thought there was a part, right? I mean, CCD and warrant or something.
No, 919 is fully CCDs this time around.
And the remaining part?
The remaining part is a pure equity rights issue.
Rights issue.
Rights issue. Balance pura rights issue. So
Why
yes,
didn't he come
lots of
with the rights
questions.
issue?
Lots of questions as to why wouldn't the existing promoters just subscribe and close the matter? I mean, why would they want a fresh issue of capital? But what he was saying was that they will not agree because they are out of the money at this point with regard to that amount which they've put up front. So it's a pref issue of only CCD. CCD is worth 915 crore, which are getting issued. So it's a full equity raise at this point.
Okay.
Mahima, you have anything on Dixon? Why Dixon is?
I think valuation, sir.
Jeffrey's note today clearly outlined this. It was a 905 brokerage note as well. Ki bhai, you can't be trading at 95 times no matter what you are, and the premium is substantial. Jeffrey's values this at 58, which is also a 10%.
That's what, half of what it's trading right now. It's trading at what, 40%. Yeah.
So basically, I think the key concern is going to be valuation.
And it's very
PLI
interesting.
expiring, sir. PLI is going to expire in FY27. What are they going to do after that?
Yeah.
I mean, if they get a renewal, then it's a different case. But
I was
moment,
looking
you have
at
to factor
I
in
was looking
expiry.
at the screen and I was zapped with the kind of growth they are getting.
Mobile division.
Mobile division,
Yeah,
right?
it's very interesting.
Nearly 2 times growth which is coming in. But consumer electronics and appliances is a fall year on year of 23% which has happened. Home appliances has grown by 3% and lighting products by 2%. So it's entirely the mobile business.
And this is going to grow by another 50% next year.
But but it also gives me
by next year I mean FY27. Sorry.
It also gives me a fear, right? In the sense कि आपका consumer electronics में ज़्यादा ग्रोथ नहीं हो रहा है, आपका होम अप्लायंसेस में नहीं हो रहा है, लाइटिंग प्रोडक्ट्स में ग्रोथ नहीं हो रहा है, एंड दिस इज ऑल आउटसोर्स प्रोडक्ट्स व्हिच इज इट्स ईएमएस कंपनी, राइट? सो मींस महिमा फॉर यू
इन्वेंटरी बिल्डअप हो रहा होगा, सेल होगा कि नहीं पता नहीं.
हाँ, सेल होगा कि नहीं पता नहीं. इन्वेंट्री बिल्डअप हो गया क्योंकि समय से पहले का इन्वेंट्री बिल्डअप तो हो गया, पर उस इन्वेंट्री में भी ज़्यादा सेल नहीं हुए हैं, मतलब
हाँ, मतलब बिकॉज मैन्युफैक्चरिंग
नहीं हुआ है. सो Q1 is going to be a slow quarter for this, for consumer durables and consumer electronics, which is there.
Yeah,
for sure.
So that is something which struck me कि ये मोबाइल हम we are very high, very गंगो on के आ रहे, we are making mobiles, but ये 3 जो segments हैं domestic industry में, it's not growing. So that's something which is there, and I think what you said, Jeffrey spoke about valuation part of it. Now.
Great business, but no
but
matter what, you can't be valued at 100 times. That's essentially what Jeffries is saying.
And
There's no risk reward left if you get valued at 100 times.
In the con call also they mentioned there was some delay in terms of the backward integration also, and margins what they said कि अभी जो 4.3 है वो तो आ गया, but expansion will be from that FY25 base 3.9% से होगा, not from that 4.3% mark. So I mean scope of margin expansion is also I mean it's not that big in terms of the quantification that the management has covered.
Exactly. पता नहीं कि आएगा.
Exactly.
इसीलिए थोड़ा see a bit of stress.
We are running out of time, but कुछ है जो हम जल्दी ले सकते हैं.
Pharma sector,
AC companies we spoke about it, electronics and everything. Q1 is going to be a base effect आने वाला है. पिछले साल Q1 में बहुत AC sales हुए थे, इस बार नहीं हो रहे हैं basically.
And monsoon जल्दी आ गया है.
Monsoon जल्दी आ गया है, मतलब बारिश देखो मुंबई में कितना है.
Yes.
अंधेरी में पानी भरा हुआ है. इसके अलावा जो है UK trade is something which is an ongoing thing, means you have signed it. उसका जो रन अप होगा हमको देखना पड़ेगा कैसे.
Today I mean the committee has gone for negotiation, right?
That's Brazil. That's for
Brazil. Okay.
EU के लिए हो रहा है वो. RateGain we have already spoken about it. Mass Financial के बारे में आपने बात कर ली है already. Power companies I think they're doing decent growth है, regulated returns हैं. Green energy is growing at a faster rate because of the kind of execution which is happening, and I think Neeraj spoke about it as well a few days back, how many of the companies are getting high orders and they have a target to meet by 2030. So wind and solar is growing at a faster pace. इसके अलावा क्या है और कुछ है नया?
I think that's
IRB Infra. Did you see IRB Infra?
The numbers were quite good when I saw them.
Yeah.
Did they come out today or yesterday? I'm not so sure. But when I've
seen
seen
the
the numbers looked good
I'll
at
check.
the outset. मैंने बहुत analyze नहीं किया है, sorry. So that I may not have. So it came out yesterday. Revenue was up 4% odd, but EBITDA was up 12%. Margins came in at 46.5%. Profit was up 14%. All of those
total
look
revenue
healthy.
was good.
Total revenue up
FY25.
17%.
But 23% versus that of national total collection of 12.5%. So that is interesting.
And for the year, EBITDA margin is coming at 15%.
One thing which is happening is that we are becoming a pay-per-use kind of economy, right? So toll is getting digitized and
Yes.
toll collections are going to go up.
Yeah.
The leakages which used to happen now is not going to happen.
Correct.
So that's a good thing. The question is that how much organically or through orders or in execution companies are able to grow. That's one thing. Ek time pe toll companies used to be and BOT companies used to be the darling of the market actually. Before we end, I think IPOs. Do you think IPOs are back?
I think IPOs will come back, but I think there is some bit of consolidation in the market once we start to see a little bit of an uptick. I think above 25, once we start inching towards 26, you will start to see people moving on the IPO front as well.
मेरा बताऊं क्या व्यू है? मेरा व्यू है कि फॉरेन फ्लोज आएंगे IPOs में. You have a bell rise which is open. You have now another company which is Aegis Vopak, which is a terminal company. 73% EBITDA margins में चल रहा है. 2,000 crores का डेट है जो पूरा
टर्मिनल कंपनी 73% EBITDA कैसे कर सकता है?
टर्मिनल मतलब गैस टर्मिनल एंड गैस
terminal.
टर्मिनल एंड द लिक्विड टर्मिनल.
I thought port
इंफ्रा
terminal है.
नहीं पोर्ट के अंदर ही है ये टर्मिनल. गैस एंड लिक्विड स्टोरेज फैसिलिटीज जो है.
Okay.
73% EBITDA.
So logistics
Logistics
करता है.
नहीं
और
स्टोरेज
people-
करता है.
people less, so OPEX is less, CAPEX is more. That's why it's 73%.
उसमें कर रहा है.
समझ
और 73% मार्जिन है उसका एंड इट्स अ सब्सिडियरी ऑफ एजिस लॉजिस्टिक्स व्हिच इज देयर.
But there was an interesting article also that I read today that around 150 companies have filed their DRHPs with SEBI.
True, it is
And
happening.
that includes your
So-
HSBC Life,
so,
your
you know,
Canara, Rebecca,
Mira-
all of those counters.
We're going if this market stays at 25,000, 24 to 25,000, because earnings potential नहीं है इतना बाकी existing companies में या index companies में, we're going to see foreign flows coming into the IPO market, primary market, and that will be something which is there. So secondary market में you will not see that, but the FI figures which comes for on a one day delayed basis, उसमें आपको FI numbers दिखेंगे which will be interesting. So you have Belrise, you have Aegis, Vopak, and then you have Schloss Bangalore, which is the Leela brand, which is
Schloss, yes.
Schloss जो है वो
Borana Weaves.
हाँ
It's
वो
small.
I think it's 5 big properties they have, right? I mean total में 13 properties हैं उनकी, but 5 big properties हैं उनकी उसमें. So that's something which is important there. So they may get foreign flows coming into
Leela Hotels.
yeah. So that's my view on it. Companies like Dam Capital, which he's asking about, yes, if IPOs come in a big, like Mahima was talking about a number of DRHP being filed, then yes, it's going to be very good for some of the wealth management companies which also have investment banking licenses. ICICI Bank में तो अभी means Nuvama is one of them. You have Dam which is there. So वहाँ के लिए उनके लिए revenue potential बहुत है.
Correct.
So, चलो, we are coming to an end of this today's session, and I think we are ending at 0.29%.
Oh, so we've
Again, so there's
come down.
there's a sell-off which is coming in basically.
Okay. Thank you so much, guys, for joining
Bye.
us.
Nifty बैंक नेगेटिव में चले गए.
मैंने आज सुबह से देखा नहीं है.
आप KYC
पुल वर्सेस बेयर तो डिक्सन ही करना चाहिए.